All right, heck, dog,
Something's new.
the ear piercings. Now,
Yeah.
I will say one. I got to ask you this.
Say what you got to say, bro.
Okay, so before the podcast, I drive and pick you up at work, right?
Yeah.
And you walked out, and I don't know if I just noticed. I'm very observant, so I instantly noticed the ear piercings.
Okay.
But when you walked out, I almost felt like there was like music in the background. You had a swaggy walk.
What?
So, did you? Okay, be honest, because
Yeah.
I have this internal dialogue constantly. First off, just yes or no. Do you have an internal dialogue? Do you
Of
constantly?
course.
Okay, but like I'm pretty sure there's a statistic.
All the time, bro.
But I'm pretty sure there's a statistic that more people don't than do. Like just the lights are on, nothing, no one's home.
See, that's weird, in my opinion.
That's what I think. So I don't understand that. Anyway, you walked out. Did any part, you got to be honest, drop the ego. Did
Yeah.
any part in your internal dialogue be like, I hope Steve says something about my earrings?
You know what? No. Like, honestly, no.
When did you get them done?
Okay, so I got them on Sunday, and it was literally right after church. And I was supposed to get them with my bro, which one of my
He
closest
folded?
friends. No, there's a lot going
Okay,
into it. But basically, I was like, you know what? I either do this or I don't.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do it. But the real reason why I got it is because, I got them is because, like I was saying, bro, I'm so tired of being in a box. I'm so tired of just being this, I don't want to say boring person. I just feel like I don't step out of my comfort zone enough when it comes to my looks or whatever. And I feel so much more confident about myself now, as you know, with the weight that I've lost, with how good I've been doing in the gym, that I just really want to express myself and just finally just stop caring, bro. That's really it. Stop caring about what anyone has to say.
Now, was it an opinions thing? Like, did you worry about what other people, because I don't know, again, we think very similar, so I'm sure you agree, but like, worst comes to worst, you get your ears pierced, you don't like it, you take them out.
Yeah.
They're so fresh that they would just heal.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't that. It was more, I feel like, again, when it comes to change, I'm very just, it's very hard for me to accept a big change in my life. Not that this is crazy, but like I told you, I don't step out of my comfort zone much when it comes to my outfits, like as I'm wearing all black, when it comes to my looks or anything. So I definitely want to do that differently this year. As we were talking, bro, we might get some buzz cuts.
Yeah, okay. So Brayden overheard us, and she objected.
Yeah, which I disagree.
Listen, I get it. If I'm sitting here walked around, bulked up, a little tubby, got the stomach fat going, wintertime, pale, I'm a white boy, so pale. I do have a little bit of color in me, so I can get tan. If I was walking around like that, I get it, right? Don't get a buzz cut. You ain't gonna look crazy.
Yeah, no.
Something about being lean, but jacked, but lean.
Yeah.
Where you can visibly see the muscle. I don't have to get a pump for you to see that I lift.
Yeah.
Nice little chain, complex, but not like anything crazy. Not like, not like a Cuban link chain.
Yeah, no.
And a buzz cut.
Yeah. You have to be shredded. That's the thing.
And that's the thing. Like, I would not have the balls to rock the buzz in my current state of physique. I need to look fantastic.
Nor the confidence, bro. Confidence is so fake. I feel like you can fake it, but genuine, real, like internal confidence, you have to really feel that,
No, I definitely get that.
So when for example, I plan on doing it, and if you want to do it with me, then
I'm down.
We can do it more towards the summer, because as we were saying, it's time to lock in, bro. It's really time to lock in.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people really realize this, but March is about to end. That's a whole quarter of the year that's already going to pass. And lately I've had to look at myself and really ask myself, what have I done? And it hasn't been much. I'll be honest with you.
All right. Well, let's get into it. But before we get into it, welcome back to the Better Days podcast. Thank you guys for listening, watching, and subscribing. You guys have been smoking it, killing it, and I absolutely love it. I think about this all week long. I'm sure you think about it too. It's one of my favorite parts of the week, just to sit down and converse. You obviously know we were inseparable. We went to the gym every day together. We lifted together. We stayed up late together. We drank way too much caffeine together, and we did all this stuff. And then I moved away for a year.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to link up. And the fact that now we're obligated, apparently, to link up weekly, and obviously a lot closer, like 35, 40 minutes away. But this is one of my favorite parts of the week. We get to get together and talk and converse and work on being better and really help each other through what we're going through in life. And let's get back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Quarter of the way through the year like that.
Yeah, instantly.
That's wild. I just moved into this new apartment. Well, I feel like I just moved into this new apartment.
Which
but
you basically did.
December.
Yeah.
December 2nd.
Yeah.
That's almost 4 months. Is it not?
Yeah.
Right? And that's I mean, in terms of an apartment and a lease, I mean, we have 18-month lease, but like that's quick, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I want to talk about really putting the foot on the gas pedal, I guess. There's so many times, the traditional new year, new me, set the goals and fail. And I made a video about this a long time ago. I don't know if you remember, but I was talking about people who make that new year, new me. A lot of the times they spend the end of the year, December, goofing off, going out, partying, drinking, eating like crap, whatever. And I realized that I get that. The extremist of, I'm going to eat like crap. I'm not really going to care. I'm not going to work as hard because in the new year, I'm locking in. And I realized, and I want your input on this, is that when people do that, they're actually creating bad habits that now in the new year they have to break. And I think that's where a lot of people fail themselves, where they're like, okay, I'll eat so clean in January. But then all of December, Christmas comes around, New Year's, and there's alcohol and there's food and sweets. And then all of a sudden we have that addiction to candy and sugar and all this food. And then it's harder to start those things. And then fast forward quarter of the way through the year, and we're kind of where we're at now.
Yeah. Yeah. And to go off of your point, it's absolutely what you just said, because what you're doing is you're building the habit of taking the easy way out.
Yeah.
The hard thing to do is to do what needs to be done in this very moment. Start today rather than tomorrow. Definitely. Or start on a Friday or Thursday, if that's when you decided to change, rather than a Monday. I feel like what people are more doing, and again, including myself into this, is you're constantly, or we are constantly rebuilding that habit in our brain of, I take the easy way out.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, bro, because you've seen my change, when I really decided, or when I really changed, was when I decided, you know what, I'm going to take the hard way out in every situation.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm in the gym, I have a choice at the end of if I want to do cardio or not. That's a decision. Am I going to take the easy way out and leave, or am I going to stay and do what has to be done? That's one decision. What type of cardio am I going to do? Am I going to be on the Stairmaster, which is the hard way out, or am I going to go on a treadmill and walk and hold on to the things? Hold on to the the whatever they're called.
Just the handles, the side rails, whatever.
Yeah. And that's another decision. And then after that, it's like what you're going to eat. You're constantly having to make these decisions, and you're building a habit every single day, multiple times a day. Again, on, am I a person who takes the hard way out or who takes the easy way out? And I feel like when you start to change, you have to change your identity. You have to change what you believe about yourself. And that happens by making these decisions constantly.
There's two things that I think are very important when you think of wanting to make the change. Well, first off, before that, you need to want to make the change. You know what I mean? You're not going to see yourself get in the best physical shape of your life if you don't really want to. You know what I mean? Like, what's the reason for that? But the two reasons, or two things that I want people to think about as they work to progress and become the better version of themselves is, one, the compound effect. A lot of people think, oh, like one cheat meal, one skipping cardio, one not going to the gym, one day doing this, one day doing that. I'm going out to drink once a week. But once a week, compounded from weeks and weeks to years and years, adds up. So people don't understand. They're like, oh, you know what? Like, I ate clean on my diet the last 2 days. I'll throw in a cheat meal here. I'll throw in a cheat meal there. And they don't understand that compound of cheating adds up, and it creates bad habits, and it allows you to feel more lenient for yourself. Yeah.
Everything adds up. Everything completely adds up. And I think we were talking about this last week, where we were saying it's very hard for you to see results right away. And that's why people, I feel like, give up on everything that they want.
Yeah.
But the more that you stick to it, just to really, really quickly go through this, bro, I think you remember, because we were sending audios. When I told you I'm ready to change, I'm so tired of how I look, because I was almost 25 pounds heavier, literally the worst that I'd ever felt in my life. But I remember telling you, I'd do my cardio, which was like an hour on the stairs every single day after my workout. And then I'd walk into a room where you can basically, what we call the bike room. Yeah, the posing room, the bike room. And I would look at myself and I'd literally say, wow, all of this work and I look the exact same. I still hate myself, which I did. So I'm okay with saying that.
Yeah.
And I'd walk into that room day in, every single day, probably for like a month, and have that same feeling of just disappointment, because I felt like I was working so hard, yet I was seeing nothing in return. But there did come a point where I really started to notice, where I was like, whoa, like, I'm actually looking better, I'm feeling better. The work that I'm putting in is making a difference. I just have to be patient. And I remember telling myself this every day. I would say, the person that you want to become is going to show up when you show up as that person every single day. And I have to remind myself that because it was hard, bro. And it's still hard because I'm still not where I want to be.
Yeah.
But
you can't forget how far you came, though, because,
yeah,
I mean, we both have done that. And I think when you change your life to that everyday type of thing, the everyday type of mentality, or at least most of the time, you quickly progress and you forget where you came from. I mean,
yeah,
I think right now I'm at like 208 pounds, right? But I'm at probably the best spot I am body composition at this weight. But I remember back at the old apartment, I was at like 217, probably the heaviest I ever was. And I was probably by far the worst body composition that I've had in the last 3-4 years. And a big part of that, kind of going back to what you were saying, is self-talk. And that was the second point that I was going to make. When you decide to make that change, like you did, you know, you saw yourself and like you said, you hated yourself.
yeah,
A lot of the big part is self-talk. And I'm not talking false self-talk where you're sitting there and you're being like, I look fantastic.
yeah,
I'm overweight, but I look great. No, it's the self-talk that you have when you decide to make that change. You know you wanted to lose weight and you talk to yourself every day. You said, I don't like myself, but I'm doing what I have to do. And you said the moment you can start to change is when you show up and be that person who you want to be.
yeah.
So you're able
day.
to talk to yourself every single day and you progress. So when people want to lose weight or gain muscle, their own self-imaging has to be better off. You don't want to be okay being out of shape and think, oh, this is healthy, because it's not.
Yeah,
But the way you can think about it is, okay, I'm out of shape. Be honest with yourself. I'm out of shape. I have too much weight on me. I want to lose weight. I want to gain muscle, whatever the case may be, because some people are too skinny. Some people weigh too much. Some people are at a good weight, but they want to gain more muscle or whatever.
yeah,
They have to be honest with themselves and look at it from a progression standpoint. Think about someone who's overweight, right? You can be scared of hopping on the scale, but you're still going to be the same weight.
mm-hmm.
But if you can change your perspective and your self-talk and you can get on the scale and, oh, I'm 230, I'm 240, I'm 300 pounds. But my goal is to lose weight. Now you have that benchmark.
Yeah,
And now you can keep track of what you do every day and focus on the progression of losing that weight if that's the goal, or gaining the weight if that's the goal. And that self-talk is very important. And I don't say it in a generic, oh, like you have to speak good to yourself because then you're going to be amazing.
You have to be real. You have to be completely real with yourself. And as much as people like to say, you know, that self-love is self-acceptance, I actually hardly believe that, or I hardly just align with that, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, I tried to love myself when I was heavier, but I hated myself. And I'll be real. The reason I hated myself was because I knew that I could have been doing more.
Yeah.
I knew the whole time, heck, you could be stronger. You could be more disciplined, but you're weak right now. You're weak internally. You're weak externally. And I had to tell myself that so many times before I really decided, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of feeling this way. Then I decided to change, you know, and again, I'm still changing. I'm not where I want to be at all. But bro, the amount of, I guess, like self-love that I have now compared to a year ago is crazy. I literally don't feel like the same person anymore.
Well, that's what we talk about, not even with just fitness, but in general, is the progression of doing the right things that you know you're meant to do. Everyone who wants to see results in anything, whether it be fitness, career, spirituality, they know what they have to do.
Yeah.
And so many times we look for that quick fix, that quick focus on, oh, like this is the secret to getting abs, 6-minute abs or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if you hit this quick 6-minute workout 5 times a week, you're going to get a 6-pack. And that's just not true. Everyone wants the quick way out. But when you know what you have to do, you know what you have to do. You know what I mean? If you want to lose weight, you know you have to eat healthier, go to the gym, get your cardio or whatever you have to do in, and burn more calories than you eat, and you'll lose weight. You know what you have to do, but it's about coming to terms with that. So the reason you're so happy compared to how you were with yourself is because you've made those progressions. You've done what you needed to do. We were talking about this in the car, where the last 3 or 4 weeks since we started this podcast, from a career standpoint, I felt so, I guess, happy with myself because I've done what I had to do every day to progress.
Yeah. Okay. And I do want to say with that is so important, because what we're talking right now is internal, you know, externally you can look and feel amazing, but that doesn't matter, because what truly matters is what do you see when you look at yourself in the mirror, you know,
Yeah.
To me, I feel like that's the most important thing. And that was my problem with myself. I would look at myself in the mirror and I hated what I saw because I knew that internally I could have done more. But now when I look at myself, I don't just see the fruits of my labor when it comes to, my physique. I'm seeing a different person. I'm seeing someone who doesn't take the easy way out anymore. I'm seeing someone who is disciplined and who genuinely just is a strong person mentally and physically. So, bro, my just perspective on myself and my identity has completely shifted. And that's why I feel like I love myself so much more. But again, it takes time, bro. Everything takes time. Anything worth having absolutely takes time.
It stems from comfortability. I firmly believe in that because you have people, for example, who are overweight, who want to lose weight, or people who are underweight, very skinny, don't eat enough, genetics are insane and they burn way too many calories and they want to gain weight. And then you have someone who has the exact look. It could be, for example, my mom, Braden's mom. They're always like, I'm too skinny. Yeah. But someone who's overweight looks at them and like, you're tripping. And I think that it stems from the comfortability. You will be confident with yourself or confident with anything if you are doing what you need to do, whether it be working out to lose the weight, whether it be working out to gain the muscle or anything like that. It stems from a place of wanting to be better and progressing. And I noticed that in both of our moms was when they started to do things, running, getting on the treadmill, doing things to get better, they realized that, oh, okay, like I'm a lot more confident in myself. Regardless if anything changes instantly, like you said, everyone wants that quick change. When you do the right things, you get out of that comfort zone of sitting where you are.
Yeah.
That's where you start to feel amazing. And if you can get into that almost like positive addiction to that progression of going to the gym, of being healthy, of eating better, of working harder at work or whatever the case may be, that's that sweet spot where you want to do it every day.
Yeah.
You fall in love with the process of progression rather than the process of, oh, you know what? Like, I don't look the worst. I'm gonna eat however, or just that comfortability.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's time for all of us to really have another just serious conversation with ourselves, especially because we were just saying the second quarter of the year is about to start.
Yeah.
We have to be real because again, it always starts with that conversation. Every journey starts with that conversation of, being real with yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm not happy with where I am.
Yeah.
I need to change. But that conversation doesn't end there. It keeps going. And I feel like, again, now is a good time for all of us to really take some time to just sit and have that conversation with ourselves of what have I done so far with this year? What can I do better? And just be real. Have I done everything that I could have? The answer is 99% of the time going to be no. You haven't done enough. You haven't been as disciplined as you could have been, as strong as you could have been. You've been going out. You've been spending too much money. That's the real answer for probably 99% of all of us. But it doesn't mean that we just have to accept that,
Let's unpack it here then a little bit between you and I.
Okay.
Get a little personal because I feel like we've talked a lot of external things, not directly with us.
No, let's do it.
Again, we always said this.
Vulnerable.
We said it on the first podcast where we don't want people to think, oh, you have a podcast, you do this, you're a public figure, you have some followers, you must be cool all the time. Because that's just not how it is. That's the same terminology or thinking when people see someone who has all the money in the world. They're like, you can't have issues. You're cool financially.
Yeah.
And they're just projecting. So let's get vulnerable because I don't even know if vulnerable is the word because I feel like we're so open and honest. It doesn't feel like we're being vulnerable.
It is because everyone likes to pretend that they're perfect and that they have everything together, especially people who are in the limelight. Not that we're, in the limelight, but we're putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And so we want to pretend, most people, we want to pretend that we have it all together, but that's just not the case.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I'll start with myself because there's...
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Too.
I'll start with myself. So... the thing that I realized with myself is, and you and I are the same exact way, so I'm sure you'll understand. We strive to have excellence in everything we do. Yeah. Not just, oh, I'm focusing on my career right now. I'm going to work really hard at that. We want to show that excellence in everything that we do. The average person is really good at one thing that they focus on the most.
Yeah.
I want to be amazing at everything I set my mind to. For example, that didn't die, did it?
No.
Okay.
Keep going.
For example, the first thing is diet. And then my activity with the gym, my training and cardio. And then my TikTok work and social media work. And then my job. Because some people think, oh, you got 60K on TikTok. Obviously, I have a job. It's not like I get paid anything crazy to where I can do this full time. My relationship with God.
Yeah.
My relationship with Braden. And my friends. Like, there's so much stuff to unpack there.
Yeah.
And I, to myself, can look at the mirror and tell myself that I need to display excellence in all of that. And I feel like throughout my life, I have gone in waves where I'm really on it in the gym, but outside of the gym, I don't do much else.
Yeah.
I mean, my diet will be cool, like diet in the gym. Or, okay, I'm locked in. I told you this today. I'm locked in right now with career, right? I'm working on this TikTok every day. I wake up early in the morning to get ready for work. I do the devotional. Then throughout the day, I edit, I do content, I make conversation with people who are commenting and things like that. I'm studying podcasts, studying our podcast, editing the podcast while I work. Then I come home and I do my nighttime Bible study. So I'm locked in with that. I'm not leaving any space for free time. I'm not wasting time or holding back on that. But with me right now, where I'm falling short is I expect excellence from myself in terms of my physical health and fitness. I've been blessed with the opportunity to learn a lot from people in terms of training. I love bodybuilding, right? I study bodybuilding, so I know the proper way to train. I also study a lot of physical health, right? And overall dietary needs. And I know how to eat to get into amazing shape. I know how to do it. But I don't do it as consistently as I want to. I set out a goal for myself this year to get in the best shape of my life. And luckily, I've been training so hard and consistent with my diet. I would say, I think I told you like 65, 70% of the time. Your light went off.
Okay.
You want to wait? So I was good with my diet for like 65, 70% of the time. And back at the old apartment, I wasn't training hard. I took a lot of time off. I was probably training on average a few times a week, right? I realized that I wasn't training hard. So luckily here, I've been training very hard, harder than I have in a year plus. So because of that, I've been able to gain a lot of weight back, like muscle-wise, and I feel good. But I set out, and my goal specifically, because again, when I set out, I write it specifics, to eat clean every single meal besides once. I give myself one cheat meal, not a cheat day, not a blowout meal where I had 6,000 calories, but I have specific macros and everything with my diet. And then once on the weekend, I can have a cheat meal, whether that's a random breakfast or a lunch or whatever. But the rest of the day, I eat the same, eat clean. And I have been dropping the ball heavy on that. And we've talked about this, but we're in a spot where my girlfriend wants to tone up. Right? And it is my job as the man of the house to lead by example. And I feel like I'm letting her down and I'm letting myself down by not doing that, by not putting my best foot forward and being disciplined. And that's how I carry myself. I want to be known as a disciplined man, but if I'm not disciplined in everything I do, I feel like I'm failing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel the same way as you because we know each other very well. And unfortunately, the standards that we set on ourselves are extremely high.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm failing myself if I'm not being the absolute best version of myself. And that's how I feel right now. I'll be honest with you. Like with many things. And don't get me wrong, I'm in a very good place. Mentally,
Yeah, me too.
Spiritually, financially. But I know for a fact that this ain't it, bro. Like there's so much for us to really accomplish. And I feel like I'm failing myself by not, like you said, being excellent in everything. And that means everything. For example, there's 4 areas of my life that I want to be excellent at, which is fitness, music, my relationship with God, and finally, just financially, right?
Yeah.
So there's those 4 things which I just haven't been doing my best at. And now again, I want to be real because I don't want necessarily anyone to think that I'm always completely fine with, where I'm going. I feel like lately I've been drifting, just floating in existence. And you know why. You know what happened that made me kind of push me into, as we Christians call it, kind of back into the world.
Yeah.
And I'll be real, I have been drinking. I have been just doing a bunch of stuff that I really want to say that I shouldn't have. But now I'm so done because, bro, it just left me empty. Just completely empty. And I'm ready to really take control back of my life because not that I'm in a bad place. If anything, I'm literally in the best shape that I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why I want to change, because I know if I just lock in with all those 4 areas that I just talked about, my whole life can completely change with how I view myself, my relationship with God. And there's nothing that this world has to offer you that's ever going to leave you happy. You know, every time after you leave the club, every time
Yeah.
after you stop drinking, every time that you get high, it always comes down and you get back to reality and you start chasing those things again because that emptiness and that void hits you again and you realize, wow, I feel depressed. I feel upset. So you start to chase those things again to help you forget about what you're going through. But there's a point where you have to stop running. And that's what I feel like I'm at right now. Just to finish, I'm done running. I'm done running from discomfort, from things that are hard. I'm really ready to run in the opposite way, run towards pain, run towards suffering.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean when it comes to that. Just choose a hard way out in everything. Sacrifice the weekend, sacrifice, unfortunately, some friendships, but do what has to be done. Because like we said, bro, a quarter of the year is already done. Soon it's going to be a third. Soon the year is going to be over. And if we don't make a decision to actively just live with intention and go towards our goals, time is going to fly.
The people that I want to direct this talk to are the people who know that being good at one thing isn't enough. We talk about it all the time. The average person looks at us and they're like, okay, like, cool. I'm cool with my diet. I like going out on the weekends. I like drinking. I like partying. I like doing this and that. The people who are behind the scenes, who are feeling the same way we are, where we're doing good at one thing but not the other thing, that's the extremists. And those people, including us, are the ones who realize that it's okay to think that way. The average person looks at us and they're like, oh, but you're doing good in this, so you should be okay. Or, oh, you know what? You're working out so hard.
But you're 23,
exactly.
You're 24, you're
you
25.
have so much time. You can go out. It's fine. You can drink. You can party. The thing that is the most important is it's okay to feel like an outlier. That's how we want to be seen as. That's how it feels being in this world as a Christian, let alone being in this world as a Christian as someone who holds themselves to such a high standard. And we push ourselves to be the best versions of ourselves every day. And it's what we want. It's not how we think we want to view ourselves. That's what I want. I want to be excellent in everything, not because someone told me I needed to, not because I believe that I'll be accepted if I'm that way. I don't want it for anybody but me.
Yeah.
And being able to look at myself in the mirror, I don't care if friends want to go out on the weekend and party. I don't want to. I don't care if people want me to skip the gym to stay at home and chill and do the best part about that is you have to get squared away with the people in your life, and the people who don't understand what you're doing need to leave or be left. Because we want this greatness from our lives, and we want to see success in everything, not just one thing, but everything. And the craziest part is there's no end to it. And that's it's called the suck for a reason, because it sucks and it's gonna suck. But I love it, bro. And I know you're the same exact way, to be able to push ourselves, to get up with lack of sleep and get up and go on a run, because I know other people aren't doing that. But more importantly, I know it's going to push me to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really tired. Well, I got to work out today because I consistently need to get to where I want to be. Or, okay, I know, example, I told you this a while ago. I hold myself in tradition of the head of the household. Me and Braden live together. I'm the head of the household, so I need to lead by example. There's no, oh, well, I'm tired. Oh, I want to go to sleep. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I'm comfortable here. Oh, I want to watch a show. I tell Braden that, hey, I need to work hard, and this is me. And if you don't give me that space and give me the emotional support to go out and do that, it's going to cause issues, because this is who I am.
Yes.
And that's where it would cause issues with, like you said, we might have to lose some friends because people get into a spot where they pull you back in.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, God, I'm going to stop going to the club. And then someone's like, yo, bro, let's go to the club.
Let's go to the club.
Yo, I'm going to really go hard with my thing. And then, oh, something happens. You have a late night.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up early and run.
Yeah.
I said that so many times the last 2 weeks. I'm going to get up early and run. And then first time I said it, my dog, we thought she was sick or she got a little hurt. And I stayed up really late because we were worried. I slept 3 hours, 4 hours. I should have got up and ran. And as crazy as that sounds, I want to be a man of my word in every single thing that I say. And I need to be that way because when I tell Braden, when I tell you, when I tell my family, when I tell my future kids that I'm going to do something or I'm going to commit to something, I don't want there to be a sliver of a doubt in their mind that I'm going to fold or I'm going to go back on my word. When I tell Braden, I'm going to get into the best shape of my life, I'm going to eat clean, I want her to believe that. And to be fair and very vulnerable, she definitely doesn't believe that 100% of the time.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's really, really just, I guess, vulnerable, I guess. But I do want to say what you just said there, I had to learn the hard way in a way where I feel like confidence comes from inside. You know, you can pretend, of course, you can pretend that you are this confident individual, but at the end of the day, your what you call subconscious, your inner self, your real you, your soul, it knows who you are. It knows who you really are. And it takes, I feel like it takes just notes every single time you say you're going to do something and you don't. And when you tell yourself, hey, tomorrow I'm going to start this diet and I'm going to go for the next 60 days. Tomorrow I'm going to start reading my Bible and I'm going to do this for, every single day. Tomorrow I'm going to start saving money. And when you say those things and you don't do it, your subconscious takes note and it says, okay, I'm just someone who doesn't do what I say that I do. Yeah. That's where insecurity comes from. How could you believe in yourself when every time that you told yourself you were going to do something, you folded and you quit and you took the easy way out? I feel like I had to learn that confidence comes from when you say something, you do it. And you teach yourself or you show yourself internally, I am exactly who I say that I am. And that's where confidence, I feel like, sprouted for me because I had no confidence. I had to learn how to be confident. And I used to fake it when I was in high school because I would tell myself, okay, like, let me pretend to be confident. But now I feel like I genuinely am confident because I have proof of things that I've done internally. And my subconscious knows the things that I've told myself that I was going to do. And it knows that I've done those things. And I'm on my way to do everything that I said that I was going to do. That's where confidence comes from. But a lot of people, I feel like, don't understand how important that is. When you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. Because it's not just you're not going to complete your goal. No, it's going to affect every area of your life.
Yeah, going back to what I said earlier, it's a compound. The subconscious is one of the most dangerous, but also the most important parts of our mind. Because like you said, if you constantly let yourself down, you might feel that short term, but it adds up in your subconscious. And you might not even think about it, but it adds up and adds up and adds up. And then you lack that confidence or you lack that drive because you subconsciously feel like you're going to fail. And then it leaks on to not just yourself, but onto the people around you. And then you feel like you're letting people down, or you feel like you're not a man of your word, or you feel like you're not a woman of your word for whoever feels the same way. And that's why it's important to do everything. It's deeper than just, oh, I got up in the morning to go on a run. Cool. Yeah. No, it's deeper than that. It's how you speak to yourself. It's the way that you view yourself holds a transaction for the outcome of your mind. Yeah, obviously, if we work out hard and we do our cardio and we do our training and eat properly, we're going to look fantastic. But do you want to look fantastic and feel awful? Or do you want to feel amazing mentally, feel confident within yourself, and also have the look that you desire to match up with that? Yeah. And also, do you want to have your career going so well and your relationship with God at the best point that it's ever been at, and your relationship with finances as the best they've ever been at all together? So people look from the outside in and they're like, oh, you're doing great in this. Why are you so hard on yourself? But when I just laid it out like that with every single piece mapped up together, there's an obvious and clear choice of what we desire. It's all of that combined. Why would I want to get up and be good on my diet, but then half-ass my training or half-ass my career or be irresponsible financially or not focus on the things that I know that I need to get done? Why would I want to do 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Because then I'm going to go in a circle. I saw this a while ago, and you probably heard someone say this, but I want everyone to stand up real quick, not us, but if you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you're moving forward, but your 1 foot stayed planning, you're literally going in a circle. Yeah. You're going in a circle. So new year, new me, I'm going to get right diet. I'm going to get right in career. I'm going to get right in fitness. I'm going to get right in faith. Yeah. Well, half of it I'm doing good at. I feel like I'm in the best spot with my faith that I've ever been in. and I'm in my best spot career and financially that I've ever been at. That's 2. But my training and my diet's not there. So I'm going in this circle. And then typically what I've done in the past is, okay, cool. I'm doing great in my career or side hustles, whatever I'm focusing on. I'm doing great with diet. Let me transition over. Let me work harder at the gym and let me focus on my sleep or focus on whatever. And then I actually neglect the other versus having all of them aligned and working hard at all of them at the same time. Like, I couldn't tell you a single time now that I cheated on my diet that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so glad that I did that because that meal hit so different. Yeah. Or, oh, that extra 30 minutes of sleep or 45 minutes of sleep that I should have been running, it really made a difference for me today. And I'm glad I did that. There's not a single time that happened that I was happy with myself now. So the short-term flesh desires don't outweigh the long-term mental gains that you get from being disciplined.
Yeah. Yeah, and everything, absolutely everything that's worth having doesn't come easy. Nothing that's worth having, whether it's a relationship with God, whether it's your physique, whether it's a good relationship with your partner, none of that comes easy. But what most people just know and don't seem to move forward with is everything that's good for you doesn't feel good in the moment. Yeah. Everything that's actually beneficial for you in the long term either is extremely boring or either just has no flavor. Not saying food has to have no flavor, but I'm just saying a lot of this stuff that we want comes from choosing the path of most resistance, not least resistance.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like all of us should be just going towards right now. Even when it comes to a relationship with God, there's a lot of times where I don't want to read my Bible. Mm-hmm. And what I feel like is people think that you're always going to want to do it. No, it's just like anything else where it's going to start by you not wanting to do it because your flesh is fighting your spirit. Your spirit is willing, but your flesh is so weak that it doesn't want to do that. However, all you really have to do is do it anyway, just like anything else. If you do it anyway, you're going to see immediately how God can really speak to you through his word, and you're going to see the benefits. And then after all of that, you're going to want to do it after days or after however much time, after spending time with God, you're going to realize, wow, I actually love doing this. I love reading my word. I love spending time in the Bible. And again, it just comes with making that decision first to start, even if you don't want to.
What I see all the time, I like to look at Jesus, right? In the New Testament, Jesus spoke in parables. He didn't straight out come to people and tell them exactly what it was. He spoke in parables, or as we like to say, analogies or anything like that. Stories, exactly. So think of this as a story. And I heard this and it was really cool. A lot of people like to have this extremist view on the Bible or being a Christian. I don't want to say dumb it down, but I like to simplify it for people in modern terms. When people feel bad about not wanting to read the Bible, like you said, I heard someone say this and it was so smart and it made the most sense because I never knew how to answer this question. I was like, should I feel bad that I don't read the Bible? God is our Father, right? So think about when we were a kid and our parents had us do something. For example, chores or something around the house, or we had to go to be at a certain place at a certain time. Just because we always didn't want to listen to them doesn't mean that they weren't pleased with us when we did what they asked. And it's the same exact way with the Bible, right? Just because we always don't want to read the Bible, or we wish we could play video games instead of read the Bible, or do this instead of read the Bible, doesn't mean that God's not pleased when we get in there. That's discipline. Yeah. You have the motivation short term. Okay, I said I'm going to be better with my faith. I'm going to read the Bible every single day. And you're running off that motivation. But when that runs out, you're left with the discipline. Yeah. And the discipline comes where, okay, you know what? This part of the Bible, I'm not really understanding. So I don't really get excited to read this. But I know that I will get a lot out of it, or I know that I can learn something new from it, or do research on that and allow my discipline to educate me. And I think that's a big thing with people with reading the Bible is they might not understand it, or they might feel like, oh, God's going to be mad at me because I'm reading the Bible now, but I don't want to, or I'm reading the Bible and I'm not getting much out of that. And it's so important to understand that God's our Father. And if we do things that he wants us to do, regardless if in the short term we don't want to do them, he's going to be pleased with us.
Yeah. And would it not mean more to him if you choose to spend time with him when you don't want to rather than when you do?
Mm-hmm.
Not that either one doesn't mean, a lot, but specifically when you don't want to read your Bible, would it not mean more to him knowing that you chose to spend time with him? You chose to leave whatever it is that you wanted to do, because there is always something, a distraction. Would it not mean more to him that you actually chose to want to be with him?
Kind of took the words away from my mouth for a second. I was thinking about that.
No, yeah, and now I feel like is very important, bro. It's very important for all of us to really just spend time with God, because the world is only getting darker every single day. Like, things are getting crazy. I just don't know what's going to happen next,
Yeah, man. And I mean, again, that doubles back into what we were saying with how we view ourselves and the confidence that we view in ourselves.
Yeah.
Confidence.
Yeah.
If we don't want to read the Bible, but we want to please our God, so we read the Bible, one, we're pleasing our Father. We're pleasing the person who made this life even available to us. And two, for our flesh, we're able to be more confident in ourselves. You know what? I didn't want to read the Bible today, but I took the time to do so. So now I can be confident in myself that even though I might not want to do things in life, I can do what's right. Yeah. And everybody knows in every single situation, not biblical, not just the gym, not just in a moral standpoint, but doing what's right is probably one of the most important things in life with everything.
Yeah.
Take the moral high ground with what you do. So if you can do what is right and do what you know you have to do every single day, it'll compound and you'll just become the best version of yourselves. And that's what you and I have to do with the things that you might be better at one thing than I am, and I might be better at one thing than you are. Luckily for us, and I suggest this to anybody, is that have someone to hold you accountable as you progress through these things. Because, bro, how many times have we done this? And we've talked about this, and I don't want to sit on it too long, but there's been times where I was in a deep slump and you pulled me out. Or you were in a deep slump and I pulled you out. And more importantly, every single time, God pulled us out. And he was there to open our minds. And, bro, there's no way that when I'm at a low point in life, you randomly text me.
Seriously.
And there's no way that when you're at that low point, I randomly text you. I remember the one time, and we don't have to get specific unless you want to, but there was one night where you called me and you were really messed up. You were really sad. But I've been going to sleep at like 10 o'clock or 10:30 every single night for this is, months ago when I was here. So probably 3 months ago. I've been going to sleep at like 10:30 every single night for, to be fair, probably like the whole time we were here. And this one night, I decided to stay up later and to do some things around the house or whatever. And that was the one night that you called me at a really, really low point. There's no way that wasn't God. Yeah. There's no way that timing was just chance. God works in patterns, and he created the world in patterns, and everything that he does is through patterns. And it's the coolest thing to know that he works through people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely everything is planned, in my opinion. Like you said, everything happened too perfectly. Too much of a coincidence.
To piggyback off of what we were just saying with how amazing God is, I read this section of Exodus, and I was talking to you briefly, but I feel like what we do now is we always say, we'll wait for the pod.
Yeah.
Wait for the pod. And I feel like sometimes we probably forget. There's probably so many ideas from the last couple of weeks that we forgot. But I've been reading the Bible cover to cover because I've never done that before. And it's something that I wanted to commit to because I'm in this space now where every single day I grow my faith with the crowd, right? And it's almost gets me so excited because it's almost God's way of smirking at me and being like, okay, I will allow you to help other people as long as you never shy away from my word. And I've been reading through the Bible, and I read through Genesis, Exodus, Job, and I'm starting Leviticus. But in Exodus, Moses and God, through God's help, just freed the Israelites from Egypt through the Pharaoh, right? And they got to Mount Sinai, and God was there, and everyone came to him, right? And he told no one to touch the mountain. And God called Moses to come to the top of the mountain with him. Because they had now been freed, it's a little crazy, right? There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, so much.
And on the top of the mountain, Moses was there for 40 days. And that's where the 10 Commandments were constructed, and there was these plaques that essentially God was giving Moses laws for the Israelites to follow. And one thing that I noticed was, and it says this here, Moses was up there for 40 days. It took 40 days for the Israelites to completely forget of the amazing works that God did and to start worshiping false idols. They literally called to Moses, his brother, and showed their lack of faith. And they rounded up gold and they melted it and it became this gold calf.
Yeah.
And they started worshiping the gold calf as if it was the idol and not God.
Yeah.
And it kind of just spoke to me because I realized we have these talks. We talk on the podcast. We talk privately. We pray privately and we ask God for deliverance from situations we're going through. God, I'm struggling with this bad habit. Help me through this. And he teaches us while we go through it and he helps us through it. And yet we are so quick to forget about the good works that God displays in our lives. And it delivered me because I realized that we constantly ask. We ask. But we have to stay in God and show him our trust and thank him more, because just as quickly as God delivers us from something, as quickly as God can put something on our hearts that pulls us back to teach us a lesson. And I think it's crazy because, again, I've done this so many times in life, bro, and I'm sure you have as well. In life, we ask God for blessings. He blesses us, and then just as quickly as they came, we forget about them. And it's something that I want to remind ourselves, as well as the others listening, because it's probably one of the most important things. We have such an amazing God. We have an abundant God. We have a graceful God. We have a forgiving God. And yet, it's so easy to forget the good works, because when everything's good, a lot of people tend to shy away from God. We don't give thanks. We're like, oh, everything's cool. Without trials and tribulations, without going through tough times, a lot of people shy away from faith. And if everything was good all the time, people wouldn't have faith.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder that no matter how good things may seem or how bad things may seem, that we need to lean on God and not shy away from his favor, because God will humble us very quickly. And I saw it there that was the first time I believe I read in the Bible that I saw and heard God's wrath. And he wanted to destroy them because of them wronging him.
Yeah.
And yet still Moses was able to get God's good grace for them. And it's just something that really stood out to me and something that I wanted to, I guess, just speak about.
Yeah. And I brought this up real quick while you were talking, because I want to put this into perspective for people, right? Because we're talking about Exodus, right before what you just talked about happened, where they started worshiping the calves, after God had just delivered them from Egypt. The craziest part about the Egyptian or the plagues was that every single plague was targeted at an Egyptian god. And God was specifically saying, okay, God was specifically giving these plagues to show the people of Egypt, your gods don't have power over me. Yeah. And this was already foreshadowed when Moses first put his staff down, it turned into a snake, and the Pharaoh asked his magicians to turn his staffs into do the same thing, but with their magic, black magic, and they did. So they all had rods that turned into snakes. However, Moses' staff ate the other snakes, just showing dominance, God's dominance over their Egyptian gods, over their power. But real quick, right? The plague was the water of blood, which was Kum was the guardian of the river source. And then the frogs, Hecht was an Egyptian goddess with the head of a frog. The lice, Geb, was god over the dust of the earth. The gats were the lice. The flies, Khepri, had the head of a beetle and also moved the sun. The sick cattle, Hathor, was a fertility goddess. The boils, Isis was the god of health. The hail, Nut, was the god of the sky. The locust, Neper, was the god of grain. The locust, darkness, Ra, was the god of the sun. And finally the firstborn, Pharaoh had ordered. Wait, my bad. Oh, just what up? I'll butcher this. Okay, it doesn't say. It was just there was a god of life or whatever.
Yeah,
but essentially, what blows my mind is God just proved to you that he has, to the Israelites, that he has power over everything, everything, more power than any of the Egyptian gods. And yet we still, and I say we because, bro, we can't think that they're any different from us, you know?
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like the Israelites or Adam and Eve are just a representation of what we would have done in that scenario.
Yeah.
How quick we are to turn our back on God, or how quick we are to, no matter how good we have things in our life, how good we are to really just turn away. And it's crazy. It's crazy how God will literally look at you when you've ran away, when you've turned around and walked the complete other direction. The world messes you up, and then you come back and you say, God, I'm sorry, I'm back. And how he just welcomes you with open arms.
The grace of God is something truly amazing. You know, there's so many people who do violent things who is very quick to think that God would turn their back or his back on them, and he just doesn't. I mean, I'm sure going back to the plagues, every plague that God put on Egypt, I'm sure you remember, but it says that at the end of it, the Pharaoh called Moses back. He asked for his God to remove it, and God gave the Pharaoh grace and removed that from all of Egypt. And then the Pharaoh's heart hardened, and then he had to put the new plague on. And it's just crazy to think about the fact that even though God knew that the Pharaoh was still going to have his heart hardened, he even told Moses beforehand, he still had that grace to at least remove those plagues and give the Pharaoh another chance. And it was kind of crazy to think about that because God knew that the Pharaoh's heart hardened every single time, yet he gave him the benefit of the doubt. And it's crazy to just understand and to fathom how amazing our God is.
Yeah. And real quick, bro, because you just reminded me, I was reading through this story, Exodus, like you were saying, and what I remember, I guess, feeling like was revealed to me in the spirit was when it comes to Pharaoh's heart being hardened, it said that God hardened Pharaoh's heart.
Yeah.
That's what it says. And I always had to question myself, why would God harden his heart if Pharaoh could have just let the people go, right?
Yeah.
But I really got to thinking, and I was like, okay, what chess move was God playing? And I have no idea. Obviously, this is just speculation for me. This is my thoughts on it. For people who don't understand or who don't necessarily know what's going on, the Israelites were all completely enslaved by Pharaoh. And so Moses, God told Moses that he was going to free the slaves, but he had to go to Pharaoh and tell him, hey, like, if you don't free them, this is going to happen. I'm going to strike y'all down with some frogs, with some lice, with some darkness. And basically, after every single thing, Pharaoh had the choice to let them go, but God hardened his heart. And so I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, why would that happen? And I feel genuinely like God knew that there was one way for all of the people to be freed. And it was for Pharaoh to completely have had enough, because there could have been a moment where Pharaoh was like, you know what, let me free the people, but let me free 10% of the people.
Yeah.
Let me free 20% of the people, 30% of the people. After a while, I feel like God was like, no, I need all of my people freed. And the only way that that's going to happen is if I, one, destroy all of your gods, but then also completely destroy you so that you're forced to just in anger let everyone go. And so I guess I have no idea if that's what happened.
Well, they mentioned that in Exodus. He said it a few times where the Pharaoh would ask Moses to talk to God, have God remove the plague. And then each plague, the Pharaoh kind of changed up what he said. There was a few times where he's like, you can go, but you can only take the elders, or you can only take the men. You can only take this group. And God is like, exactly what you just said. No, I don't want just a few of them to go. I made a covenant. I need every single one to go. And what's crazy is eventually after the plague of the firstborn,
the firstborn,
the Pharaoh still chased after them. After every single Egyptian's firstborn was killed, the Pharaoh still chased after them until God finally collapsed the walls of the water on them to wipe them out.
I'm just trying to think, bro, how do you have the audacity to do that? I guess at that point, you just know you took the L as a Pharaoh. You're just like, you know what? I lost. This was embarrassing. You embarrassed me in front of everyone, in front of the girls, in front of the guys, the bros. So I'm going to kill you.
Just bring the Red Sea, man. I'm going to just...
Yeah, but it was like, bro, at that point, like you gotta know at some point when to give up. You know what I mean? And if I was Pharaoh, I don't know if I would have just taken the L, but I most likely would have been like, you know what? This man, God, the real God, done killed all the firstborns. He done showed me everything. He done destroyed all of my gods. I'm gonna just let this slide because in what world am I gonna win?
It's just crazy because in our world, there's so many bad people. You see it in like dictators and things like that. And I think about this and it kind of messes with my brain because I feel like most of the time the right thing seems rather obvious. But every single evil person in this world thinks that their way is right and they think that they're not doing anything wrong. And I always sit in that and I'm like, how the hell did Hitler think he was doing the right thing? It doesn't even make sense. How did this evil person or even someone smaller, how did they think they were doing the right thing? And I get dumbfounded and I get lost on words when I think about that.
Yeah, nah, bro. I feel like Pharaoh was probably the most stubborn person in the Bible ever probably to ever live. Because why? Like, why would you go after the people?
Yeah.
You already lost all of them. You lost everything. You're embarrassed. Like, come on, bro. Like, give it up, bro.
Take a hint, man.
Please,
Take the hint.
please give it up. Like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for you now. And obviously, he lost his life because of that decision. He could have just let it go. They could have figured it out. But everything was lost because he decided to keep going to the place that, again, he already knew he had lost the battle in. So it's interesting, man. God just works in ways where he will leave no doubt. He will absolutely leave no doubt.
It's just a testimony to his word too.
Yeah.
God doesn't lie. And he gave that covenant early on to Abraham.
Yeah.
And he kept his truth. And no matter what he had to do, he pulled the Israelites out of there and he gave them that abundance and he allowed them to live.
Yeah.
And it's just a testimony to just how amazing God is in our lives, that no matter what we go through, no matter the struggles that we deal with, going back to what we were talking about, whether we say we're going to do one thing and we don't, whether we say we're going to get in better shape and we don't, whether we say we're going to eat better or work through our sins or work through our fleshly sins that we deal with going out and everything, that no matter what, God seems to always be there when we return and we're like, God, you know what? I messed up. Hey, God.
Yeah.
It's like an ex-girlfriend when you get sad and you walk back and you knock on the door and she opens the door and was like, I told you I was the best you were going to get. And you're like, oh, man, can you take me back?
That's a good girl right there, man. That's a good. Because if you do a girl dirty and she's just there ready for you to come back, that's a different type of love. That's a different type of. You got to put a ring on that one for sure.
And we can't even fathom how God is.
Yeah,
in terms of that.
God's mercy is incredible. It's uncomprehendable. You can't understand it, but that's what makes it so special. And I really feel bad, bro. I really feel bad because I'm that person that like leaves and comes back, and it's embarrassing because I'm just like, hey, God, like it's me again.
You're in the window. You're like, hey, it's
like,
raining out here.
Yeah, and it's not just me. Obviously, I feel like everyone kind of does that, but I will say this from the bottom of my heart. Every time I come back, I feel like God welcomes me with open arms and just say, you know what, like you're dumb. Because I told you that world wasn't going to fill you up. I told you the club wasn't going to be good for you. I told you that girl wasn't going to be good for you. I told you so. But you know what? I love you. I love you and I'm here for you. And that's really what I feel, bro. Yeah. I feel dumb. I do. I feel dumb every time I come back because I'm like, hey, like, I'm sorry. But I always feel like, you know what? It's okay.
And that's the takeaway, is that we live in this world that's so full of sin and confusion, but the one true thing is God and his favor on us. So no matter the mistakes we make, no matter the sins we make, no matter the people we hurt or the things we do or the things we delay or the blessing that God gives us on a silver platter and we push it to the side, he's always there with his understanding, with his grace, with his love for us. We know what we have to do.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing. There's no secret to what we have to do for what we talked about. We want to be the best version of ourselves. We want to display excellence. And God has given us the vision. He put that vision on our minds. And all we have to do is move forward. Focus on what we can do one day at a time. The successful habits, the good things, the growth opportunities, the discipline every single day. And we'll become the version of ourselves that God put us on this earth to be. We were created in his image.
Yeah.
His image isn't going to the club and drinking and partying and wasting life. His image is ingrained within our brain. I told you this all the time, but he programmed each individual differently.
Yeah.
But we were made in his image.
Mm-hmm.
And deep down, what we feel as if he called us to do, what he called us to do, it's there for a reason. And every single person knows what they have to do it. But only the uncommon amongst the uncommon actually goes out and do it. And like we said, we're always here to hold each other accountable. And we're here to hold everyone else accountable. But we know what we have to do. And the only way to do it is to start and to hold each other accountable and to tap into that person who we never have been, or at least haven't been long term.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I want to say as well, to go with what you just said, was in our journey, we're going to slip up. We're going to fall. Whether you're talking about your fitness journey, whether you're talking about your spiritual journey, your financial journey, you're going to slip up a lot. You're not a perfect person. Neither am I. None of us are. Not obviously that doesn't give us the right to just willingly go and make mistakes, but that's the reality of life. You're going to fall a lot. And I want people to really just know that just because you say you're a Christian, or just because you look at a Christian, it doesn't mean that they got it all together. Let's do the outro real quick.
Just continue.
Yeah. So just because you say you say you're a Christian, it doesn't mean much. You're going to, yes, it means a lot, but what I'm really saying is you're going to make mistakes, but God is going to be there to pick you up when you fall, and he is going to forgive you. His love and mercy is endless. And truthfully, I want people to know that you can be a Christian, and just because you're a Christian, it doesn't mean that you have to be this perfect cookie cutter person. God really looks at your heart, and he knows if you genuinely want to change, he's going to help you change. Mm-hmm. But again, like we were saying, you have to want it, and you have to truthfully be willing to just leave everything behind.
Yeah, be confident in the person who he put on this earth. Do the successful habits and steps every single day. Be that person who you know he was meant to be. Be confident in yourself. Be consistent and work forward. But, man, that might have been my favorite podcast. I feel like normally we're kind of
it's only the third one.
We're being a little silly and goofing off, but I feel like that time we kind of got vulnerable and talked about ourselves. And I think it was dope, bro. And I appreciate you for talking about some things, because I know some things are tough. I feel like I used to be bad at opening up.
Some things I'm going through right now.
Now I just yap, bro.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I'm literally going through them as I speak. But if it can help someone, in their journey, then I'm willing to be that person, that open book to just, you can throw stones at me, it's whatever. But I want people to really know the truth. That's really it.
Yeah, man. As we progress, we'll keep everybody updated.
Yeah.
Just know if the buzz cuts happen, it's because we actually stayed consistent. We're lean enough to rock the buzz cuts. And
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this episode of the Better Days podcast. Make sure you guys throw a subscribe, follow. Guys, we're on Apple Music now, or Apple Podcasts now, Spotify, and YouTube. So make sure you guys follow us on those and subscribe to us on YouTube. Drop a comment. We'd love to answer any questions that you guys have. Maybe start to do a segment with that.
Yeah.
But God bless you guys.
That'd be amazing.
Thank you for spending time with us. Share this with a friend. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Deuces.